Hello everyone and welcome to my coloring corner. Today is Tips and Tricks Tuesday and we do have a couple of tips and mostly tricks. So first of all, the tip of the day is don't plan so much stuff in one video that's going to take all day. So this is going to be a long video. I have a flip through of the Fantasy Tiny Homes. I have the first impressions of the Colleen 120 as well as the Swatch. And I'm going to go through the information that I told people that I would go through about the color wheel and how I use the color wheel. So that's going to be the tips part of the video today. So I'll quickly go through that because it's fairly simple. On your color wheel, you have, especially if you get a big one like this, this is the Atmos. It has the information here for the color schemes. It has whether it's a tone or a shade on this side. And then on this side, it gives you your color theory, your definitions, and it tells you your tints on this side. So basically a tint is something that you've added white to. So your main colors are up here at the top and your tints go down. So the more white you add, the more tinted it's going to get. So when I use a color wheel, this is your main color. So if you have a lot of blue, let's say, in your main color is blue. Now you want to find complementary colors or colors that will enhance that blue. So you can do one of three ways. You can do a split complementary, which is yellow orange and red orange, or you can do a triad complementary, which is yellow and red. So the further down you go, for example, if I was to use this one here, I would use this one here. Same with over here. I would use this one. Yeah, this one here. So the further down you go, like if I was to use this one, I would use this one and this one. You're not held to that. So you can go with this one way up here at the top, the darkest of the blues, and you can use this pink or this yellow. You don't have to stick with just what's in the line. So you don't have to stay with this one and this one, or this one and this one. You can go this one and this one, and still get a good complementary color. So that's how I use it. I use the triangle in the center to tell me what colors go well with that color. So if I don't like the colors that go well with that color, I will look at the colors next to them. So if, say I don't want to put green with blue violet. So I look at the yellow orange, or the orangey yellow, or the orange. I look at these three colors here and see if there's something in that color range that I would prefer to the blue violet. Same with on this side. Now this side has tones and shades. So basically it's adding a gray matter or a black coloring to your color. The darker it gets as you get to the center. So your main color, so let's start with yellow. Our main color, of course, is yellow. And then we have a slightly duller yellow. And then all the way down here, it's almost a brown black color. Almost an olive yellow. And that's because they've added some black to it. Same with over here. When you add black to orange, it starts going into your brown colors. Same with here. So that tells you how to mix the colors, basically, is if you have an orange and a black, let's say, and you want a brown, combine the colors. And you will get that sort of thing. So Once again, it's got the triad as well as the split complementary. It tells you over here the types of, like the triad is 3 colors equally spaced from each other on a wheel. For example, the 3 primaries, red, yellow, and blue. So if we go to yellow, the triad will be blue and red. The complementary is the violet, red violet or blue violet. So the complementary to yellow is purple, basically. And that's the way that we use the color wheel. So green, the complementary is red. So basically, if you want an exact complementary to the color, you just follow the line through the thing and you get your complementary. These 2 are split complementary and these 2 are your triads. It also goes into harmony and that sort of thing as well. So basically, just as a very basic starting point of your color wheel, you can get into the further information on your color wheel later on. But the main thing that you want to remember is when you're looking at your color wheel, look at your center of your color wheel. There will always be a triangle there. The opposite, if it doesn't have a triangle, so if you just have a pointer, the opposite is your complementary. So if you are looking at green, your complementary is red. If you're looking at blue-green, your complementary is orange-red, and so on. All right, so that is the information on the color wheel. If you want further information on the color wheel, let me know. If you want to know where this color wheel is, I will leave a link in the description below the video. Okay, so next we have illustrations by R.J. Hampson, The Fantasy Tiny Homes. And this is a book I was given for Christmas from my husband. And we will be doing a quick flip through of it, and we will actually be coloring with the Colleens this page here. So I think I've bitten off more than I can chew today. But that's okay, because I get to spend the day with you guys. So this is the This Book Belongs To page, and that's what we're going to color with the Colleens. And it goes through how to use the book. And then it has I love it, the mobile castle, the smuggler's hideout, the camper van, the explorer, a house in the woods, knight errant, and I'm trying to keep something over top of the picture so that it's not able to be copied. This is the observatory. This is the powerhouse. The small Tudor bedsit. The tortoise home. The tree house. It's so cute. Little animals. Adorable. The cat house. Look at all the cats. And the bird. I love it. And a little mouse. And another little mouse. The gnome home. Riding the snails. Little mushroom houses. The floating house. And the paper in this book is pretty good. It's still Crate Space paper, but it feels a little thicker. It's still pretty smooth though. The Jungle House. The Airborne Tiny Home. Little plain houses. One for Rover. That's awesome. The Boot House. And there is the old Mother Hubbard who lived in the shoe. The Jurassic Home. The Mouse House. Oh, mouse. The Treehouse number 2. The nautical themed tiny home. It looks like an old tugboat. And this is the inflatable tiny home with elephants. The island home. The canal boats. The 3 little homes. Little tiny houses. Little pigs. The 3 little pigs' houses. And then, of course, the second set of pages begins here, and it begins over again. So there is 2 sets of pages in here, so in case you make a mess or have an accident, or just want to color it a completely different way, it has the ability to do that. So that is the R.J. Hampson Fantasy Tiny Homes. And like I said, we're going to color this one with the Colleens today. All right, so we're going to put that to the side. And the Colleens is a 120 set of pencils. Oh, and I did have major damage problems. However, the problems are only with the packaging. The pencils themselves didn't seem to take any damage, which is wonderful. I have gone through and rearranged them so that they were in color family order. They're not in perfect order. I am not perfect in any way, shape, or form, but they are in a good enough order that if I want a pink, I can grab a pink. If I want a red, I can grab a red. I haven't gone back through and reordered for ones that I may have put in the wrong space. So we've got in this tray our red, our yellows, our oranges, our pinks, as well as our reds. I don't know what that little line is going on my camera. I don't like that. Why is it doing that? Huh. Very strange. Hopefully you guys don't see that. I saw it and I don't like it. And then in this tray we've got our purples, our blues, and our greens. Maybe it's because I was just too close to it. Like I said, the trays had some issues. And then in this set, this tray, we've got our greens into our browns into our grays. So a very well-rounded set is a lovely 120 set, and it covers all of the bases. It covers all of the colors, gives a good selection of each color, and that sort of thing. Of course, we will do a swatch and a testing. So just one moment and stay tuned for the swatching. Make sure you've got your coffee handy and sit back. And we'll stick these back in here. And of course, I will switch on over to the swatch. It should take about 3 minutes. Of course, I cannot swatch that fast. This is super speeded for your convenience and for mine. I wish I could swatch this fast because I'm telling you, it would be handy. All right, guys, so I will be right back right after the swatch. Well, then that wasn't so bad. It took a little bit less time than I thought it was going to. All right, so we've got our swatch here, and as you can see, I didn't miss too many marks. There's a couple of ones that I would switch around. This one here, for example, I would move. This one here, I would move this one over, and these ones over there. But all in all, a really well-rounded set of pencils. They don't have too many blues, they don't have too many greens. They have a really good selection. I'm going to switch you over to the close-up camera here so that you can see a little bit better. Let's turn that light off. So I did do a black swatch, black square for the white, so it does show up pretty good on black. And then, of course, we've got our yellows into our oranges, into our peach tones. This one here should be over here, but that's okay. Into our pinks, and then into our darker pinks. These two darker pinks should be up here towards the oranges because I went from dark to light. And then into our lighter pinks, into our red oranges, into our reds, Still not quite enough reds. There's still 4 or 5 reds in here, which is pretty good. But to my liking, I prefer more. But that's okay. Better than 2 or 1 or, you know. There is another red down here, which is a brownish red that would work well as well. There's a couple of burgundy colors in here as well. This one here I would move over. And then we have our purples, and then into our lighter purples, and starting into our light blues. Some really nice aquatic colors here, and into our darker blues. This green shouldn't be here, it should be over 1, or down here, one or the other. Into our really dark blues. And then we have our blue greens, into our greens, our dark greens, into our light greens, and then into our light browns. This brown here is more of an olivey kind of brown. It's not quite showing up as an olive on the camera, but it's more of an olive. And I probably should have, no, it's fine there. Into our light browns. This one here is a light olive color. That's why I have them next to each other. And then into our mid browns and our red browns, like our terracotta colors. That's why this one is down here. It's more of a red brick kind of color. And then into our dark browns, into our blacks and our dark grays. This one here should be over 1. Into our light blue grays, into our warm grays, and then our really light grays down here. Okay, so, and of course they are all numbered, not named. So there, I have all their numbers all put down here as well. Now for our testing. So let's start with our sharpen test. So we're going to sharpen these. We've got our handy dandy sharpener here. So it starts off, when you get it, it starts off with this little tiny nub, which is fine. It did well. But I like a nice sharp pencil. And it sharpens up beautifully. Very well centered, not any large amounts of wood going up the core, which is fantastic. All right, so there's the blue. I'm going to do our yellow here. Same with the yellow, not a large amount of wood going up. A little bit higher there than I'd like, but I also haven't sharpened it as sharp as the blue there. And then our red. And it, of course, at least has a couple of true red colors, which is great. And then we have our red. All right, so sharpening, yes, they sharpen. Let's do our erase test first. Grab an electric eraser that has an eraser in it. So let's start with that. I'm going to put down a heavy layer here. They do crumble a little bit when they're being pressed hard on, so they are definitely one of those pencils that you don't want to press really hard on. All right, let's check the blue for erasability. And I've got the Artesio eraser here. Ooh, it smudges. So it does not erase very well with the Artesio. I've also got the Afmat here, so let's see. Oh, I don't have an eraser in it. Let's put an eraser in the Afmat. Let's see here. I'm put a thick eraser in the app mat if I can find one. Oh, maybe I can't find one in this bag. That's fine. I think this is the wrong holder. Just gonna grab this little guy here. Okay, there we go. That's better. So let's check the app mat. See if it does any better. A little bit. Not a whole lot, but it does erase. It doesn't leave a whole lot of remnants underneath it, which is good. Oh, I need my brush. Let's see, need a brush. Gotta brush it all away. Alright, so let's brush all that away. So the blue with the app mat does erase down to the paper, which is good. So let's try the red. I'm not going to press as hard on the red. I'll just do an extra layer. That's pretty good pigment for 2 layers. Let's brush off the excess there. With enough passes, you can get down to the paper. It takes a couple of passes, but it does get down to the paper. It does leave quite a bit on the paper though. So if you're going to make a mistake, maybe use an eraser such as this one. So I'm going to try this one. Make sure that I've got all the schmutz off of it from the last thing I erased. Okay, so clean eraser. Okay, so yes, the Faber-Castell pencil eraser does work better to erase that. It does take a little bit more work, but it does lift more of it off. So, and you have a little bit more control over it on how hard you're pressing. I love this eraser. I think this eraser is wonderful. I like my electric erasers for that quick little 1 or 2 level layer erase on certain pencils, but when you have a really thick pencil lead like this or a really intense lead, I find that this Faber-Castell eraser does so much nicer of a job. Let's see how well it does on the blue. So it was able to get the blue down to the paper as well. So erasability, I would have to work quite hard to get it right down to the paper. And I'm using cardstock here, so if I was on a coloring book page, I might actually end up ripping it with the amount that I had to erase with. So possibly not the best one for erasability. Excuse me, guys. Hold on a second. I'm gonna grab a sip of my coffee here. I got a tickle in my throat. All right. So Sharpen, they do that well. Erase, not as well. And grab my blender pencil here, just for the blender test here. And make sure I get all this smut off of here. So let's start with our water test. So with our water test, I put down a couple of layers just to make sure I have a good thick base. And the reason for that is because usually when you use a water medium on top of your pencils, you're already done your pencil part. So, you know, your layer is already down on the page. Same with the smudge test. I do a nice thick layer for that because you're already finished with that color, and you've already got all the layers on there that you're going to put down. With every colored pencil set, whether they're waterproof or not, I would always suggest that you start with your watercolor portion first. But if you're going to be adding things like stickles or anything like that, that's one of the reasons why I do this test. Because sometimes stickles, they are a water-based product. You know, they do have a liquid media to them to start with before they dry. And they can pick up the colors if your colors are not, if they bleed. So that's one of the reasons why I do this test. The other reason is because people do tend to use watercolors with their colored pencils, whether they're adding a background, whether they're adding two different medias, or just playing around. So I like doing this test just to make sure that it's not going to, you know, run off the page if you put a glitter pen over it. Okay, so I have my water brush here. I'm not going to saturate it because when you're doing watercolor things, you don't saturate the page. If you're going to saturate the page, make sure that you do your water first. Oh, wow. The running that you see there is the ink from the pen. If you can see it, the water itself is puddling on top of the pen, on top of the pencil. So waterproof, awesome. Yeah, that's really cool. Completely waterproof. There is not a single streak from that color coming off with the water. You see the movement of the ink from the pen, as you can see here with where I wrote water. All of that color smudge is from the ink of the pen, which is awesome. Let's do the smudge test. Thrilled with that. So let's see if they smudge. So once again, I'm going to put down the same amount of color that you would put down if you were coloring a page, making sure that all the white spot is gone, that sort of thing. All right, there's the red. And then we got the blue. And I do this with the primary colors because why not? Because they're nice bold colors and they stand out. Blue is taking a little bit more to cover up those white spots, but that's okay. And then the yellow. I think it's because I sharpened the blue a little bit more than the red and the yellow. I left a duller point on the red and the yellow, but I still put a point on it. All right, so smudging. Ready? There's a little bit. A little tiny bit on the red. There is no smudging on the blue or the yellow. And the red may have been because I had some loose bits. So let's try it again down below. Nope, definitely red smudges a little bit. Okay, so the red smudges a little bit. All right, so let's do a dark to light blend. Let's grab some pinks here, just because we like pink. So, want this one. Where's my, oh, where's my color swatch? Oh, it's in front of me. So I need, I think 116 would be better. And let's do 113. And then a lighter. So I think this one, 510. Okay. All right, so we have a dark, medium, and light pencil there. So let's start with our dark. Just light layers. Put down our darkest layer first. And leaving a tail for it to blend into. Just trying to get a good layer on there. There we go. So that's one. Putting in a little bit of a tail there. There's two. And then so they do blend very nicely into each other, which is great. Now for our rainbow blend. So I've done a dark, a medium, and a light there, and they did blend well together. You don't see a hard line when blending them together. So let's do a rainbow blend. Start with our red. Once again, putting down a bit of a tail. And there's our red. And then our yellow. Our yellow goes into the tail. And I want to be able to create another color with that. And leave a tail out here. And it definitely creates an orange. Now if you want that to be a smooth blend, you can go back over it with the red. and alternate between the red and the yellow, just to drag that in a little bit more so that you don't have so much white spot showing through. And then we'll bring this out so that we can do it with the blue as well. And then with our blue, going over top of some of that red, or yellow I mean, and creating that green. Which it definitely created. Now if you want it to be a lighter green, of course go over it with your yellow. Like so. So it did create a well done rainbow effect of red, orange, yellow, green, and blue, which is a fantastic. All right, so let's try the blender pencil. So we're going to, they seem to do very well with covering up white spot on their own with enough layers. So let's do the blue. And I'm just going to leave some white spot showing. And we'll use a blender pencil and see if we can blend that all in together. So the blender pencil definitely gets rid of that white spot. And dust that off. Definitely blended it quite well with the blender pencil. So the blender pen we'll do with red. And I'm just going really light at the end, at the tail there. See if we can blend this deeper red here into that tail and eliminate that white spot on the tail. All right. Now we've got our blender pen. This is the Finesse colored pencil blender pen. And it seems to blend it quite well. This is an alcohol-based pen by the smell of it. It smells a little alcohol-y. Just getting the red off of it. It does pick up your color, so be careful of that. Make sure that you give it a rub afterwards to get that color off of it. So we'll let that dry a little bit. There we go. It's fairly dry now. So it does blend it into the lighter areas, getting rid of most of that white spot. Do I prefer the blender pen or the blender pencil? Let's do one more with the Caran d'Ache blender pencil. So let's try the hot pink with the Caran d'Ache. Because the Caran d'Ache, not only does it blend it, it burnishes it and makes it all bright and shiny. So it does seem to change the color of the well, it doesn't change the color, it brightens it up, it makes it pretty. However, it's not pulling it into that. No, it's not doing too bad. It doesn't pull it out as much as the Blick or the blender pen itself. It does cover it up and it does brighten it, but it doesn't do as good of a job as the this one here is the Derwent blender. And now that I've gone over it with the other one, I can't change it because I've burnished it with the other one. But this one here was done with the Derwent blender. And as you can see, I can move that out even further because the blender pencil itself picks up some of that color and redistributes it. Where this one here, it didn't pick it up at all. It just mashed it down, I guess is the word. So yeah, same with this, going from our light to our dark. Of course, I had some blue on there, so it redistributed some of that blue. And it does the gradient blend as well. So personally, I prefer the Derwent blender pencil on these pencils. So let's take a look at all of our bits and baubles here. So waterproof, absolutely. Smudge proof, the red smudges a little bit. It's a very highly pigmented color. The blue and the yellow didn't smudge a whole lot. Erasability, definitely erasable with a eraser pencil. With the electric erasers, it will erase it, but it doesn't do as good of a job. Definitely blendable. They do layer together very nicely to create a rainbow as well as to create a gradient effect. They blend well with a blender pencil as well as a blender pen. The Caran d'Ache blender or Bright Stick doesn't move the pencil as much as, say, the Derwent blender pencil or with the Finesse blender pen. It did brighten it, and it did cover up the majority of the white spot and burnish the page, so you couldn't add anything further to it. So that is the swatch and the testing of the Colleen pencils. I'm going to color this little flower here with the pinks just so I can see how well they color together. And then we will be coloring in the coloring book to see how well they do on coloring book paper, as well as to play with that book a little bit because, yeah, it's a book and it's pretty. So they're laying down very nicely on the cardstock. Now this is 67-pound cardstock that I use for my swatches. So it's the same cardstock that is in my swatch books if you have purchased one of my swatch books. Alright. They are really smooth. There's no or anything. It's just nice and smooth coloring. Let's switch back over to the close-up camera so you can actually see what I'm doing. Wouldn't that be nice of me? So they are going down very, very smoothly. Let's go into the next color here. So the first one I used is 116. This one is 113. Just getting into those areas that I want darker. And I'm just putting down 1 or 2 passes. I'm not slamming as much color onto the page as possible, even though I could very easily press a little bit harder and get a good heavy layer of that color. They do smush a little bit. I do find that they do work a little bit better with a duller point. So that's going to be a learning curve for me, because I like a good sharp pencil. But it's definitely something that I can figure out. Pencils are all different. No matter what anybody says, every colored pencil has their own little quirks, especially the artist grade ones. However, there are so many Chinese pencils out there that are branded differently but are made in the same factory. So sometimes you think you have a brand new set of pencils and they behave exactly the same as another set of pencils that you have. And that's just because it's made in the same factory and possibly from the same stock, or same blend, I should say, as another pencil. Sometimes they give you the ability to choose your blend, or if you want to go in an inexpensive way, which some of these companies decide to do, they have a stock blend that you can use. Which is fine, as long as they're a good pencil. There's a few companies out there that you color with them and they're like coloring with a stick. But these seem to be going down very nicely. They're blending together very well. They're building that color and layering together, which is awesome. Okay, so there's our pinks. And I think they did quite well with the pink. Let's put a little bit of yellow in the center here. And we'll put a little bit of red. Creating a bit of an orange, which is cool that it did that. So let's actually create some green. So let's do some blue. And of course, where you go darkest with the blue is where your darkest greens are going to be. And then we'll take our yellow. And we'll make a green, which it definitely made a green there. I want it to be a little bit lighter, so just put down a little bit more yellow, like so. So definitely can make green and orange. does quite well, actually. So they do blend together to create new colors. They do blend together to make a gradient coloring. They do. They are waterproof. They do not move with water. The red does smudge a little bit, but I think that's just a layering thing if I put down a heavy layer. So let's do one last little trick here. So let's do our ladybug. Now typically I would do our ladybug in red, but today I think we're going to do it in orange. I'm putting down the red, and in some areas I'm going a little heavier with the red for those shadow areas. And the other areas I'm going fairly light, like so. And then we'll take our yellow and we'll go right over top of that red, creating that orange. And we have orange. That is so cool. It actually does blend very nicely to create those other colors, which is awesome. All right, one more test, one more blend, just because I want to. So we're going to actually make pink. So we're going to take our red, maybe a bit of purple too. So I'm not putting it everywhere. I'm just going heavier in some areas here. Just getting that heavy area done first. And then we'll just very, very lightly go over everything else. Not putting down a heavy coat anywhere except for where I want it to be a darker pink. So we've got the red down in a nice arrangement. Now where we want the darker, where we have the darker areas is going to be a darker pink than the lighter areas. And this is called a tint. So a pink is a tint of red because you add white to it and it creates a tint. I think I might need to sharpen my white a bit. And we have created pink. The tints are a little bit harder to make than the darker combinations because of the white spot on the page. It picks up the white spot. The white color picks up that white spot. So if we go over it a little bit with the red, it'll pick up some of that red. And we go back over it with the white. And it turns it to pink. So as you can see on the tip of the pencil, is pink. So if I color here, it'll color pink. Very cool. So it does do tints quite well. It does do a blend of light, medium, and dark perfectly. And it also does a rainbow blend very, very well. So we can create new colors with it, which is perfect. Awesome here. It does a rainbow blend quite nicely, so that is going with your primary colors, creating your secondary colors, which it does very, very nicely. It does a dark to light blend very well, progressive gradient effect, which is great. Uses Derwent blender pencil better than the Caran d'Ache. The Caran d'Ache does brighten it, but it does take out the tooth of the page and burnishes it instead of blends it. The blender pen works really well on it as well. All right, so let's color. Let's color with them. Okay. Now I'm going to take this one here and move it over here. I'll put this one back into the blues. What do we have here? So we have, okay, so we're going to need some grays. So we need to take this out and put it here for a moment. So let's start with this one here. So let's start with the car. A little bit sharper. All right. So I'm going to switch you on over. Let's move some stuff out of the way here. Go on to the close-up. And just shift you around so you can see the car. And my fingernails that I have cleaned, but they're stained. So I'm using this blue-gray for the engine. Oh, these are working really nicely on this paper. This is just my base coat for the heads on the engine here. That is working very nicely. Now we're going to take this one, which is a darker color. Still working with the grays. I know, boring. And we'll fill that in. That top part there is going to be black. And so are the parts there. Go down into the engine block a little bit. There we go. All right, now, oh, and our, yeah, we're going to do that black. Now we're going to grab our black. I know, not quite thrilling yet, is it? A little bit sharper. with these rat racer type of hot rod cars, this is usually either chrome or black. And I'm going to do it black. I might put a little bit of chrome up there. I don't know. Probably do some chrome there too. So the black is a nice black, and they are just gliding on this paper. Let's do the door knocker too. All right, let's do a bit on the house. We'll probably not finish this all at once today because it's already been an hour, but we will get different aspects of it done. And I think I want a red door. I don't know why, I just want a red door. So I'm going to do the base color here. So this is just a basic red. This is number 104. And I'm going from light to dark just to see how well they do. Typically when I color, it all depends upon the picture itself, on whether I do dark to light or light to dark. Now I'm going to take this one, I think it's this one I want. And this is 119, which is a darker red. Sharpen it up. We're going to put in that dark area. Shadows. And then this area here, I'm going to do dark to light just to see how well it does. See if that light overpowers the dark or not. Always experimenting. Always testing different possibilities. I think that's why I like coloring so much, is it gives me the opportunity just to be creative, just to test things and see how well they work and if they work. And sometimes you just have to test things. Sometimes things just don't work on their own. You have to figure them out. And I'm always up for a good learning. It's hard to, every day is a learning experience, but sometimes it's hard to see where the lessons are. And I'm just going to go over it with the lighter red. I'm just going to fill in any of the white spot here. Go over top of this and see if it stands out as much. Or if I need to go with a darker red. No, I think that's pretty good. I think it still stands out even though it's close to the same color. Or the same depth of color, I guess. Basically, what you're trying to do with your shadow colors is make sure that they stand out against your base color. So if there's a shadow and you're using a shadow color to make it stand out, make sure that you're a little bit darker than your base color is. If you're using a gray, put your gray down first and then put your base color over top of it. See, it all depends upon the picture you're doing and what kind of shadow you're going for. Like if I thought this was completely in the dark, I would have gone with a gray instead of using the same color as my base color, because it would have made it a lot darker. And then I would have gone over it with the red. Now I can go over this with, say, a black and make this much darker. So let's grab our black just to show you how that looks. So here's our black. So say I want this area here to be quite a bit darker. If I go over it with my black, it's much, much darker, but it still looks like it's red. And if you go too dark, you can just add a little bit more red to it. Like that. So as you can see, you can definitely see the shadow there, but it still looks very much like the same color, just a shadow in the color. And of course, if you find that it's a little too dark, you just take your base color that you wanted that shadow to be in, and you just darken it up a little bit, add a little bit more red. There we go. So that's lesson number 2 for the day. See, I'm just full of tips and tricks today. So now I'm taking the blender pencil and I'm just going to eliminate that white spot. Like so. So this paper works very well for the Colleen Pencils. It's a lovely book. Of course, I will leave links to everything I've used today in the description below the video. The Colleen Pencils, as well as the book and the blender pencils and the blender pens and the color wheel, the book. What else? What else have I used today? The eraser pencil, and of course the AFMAT eraser, electric eraser. So it does blend very, very nicely, removes and eliminates that white spot quite well with the Derwent blending pencil, which is great. All right, so let's do our lion. Let's take a little bit of lighter brown here. 504. For our lion. And this is just the base. I'm going to go over it with a lighter color. And then we'll go over it with this one. Could also have gone over it with some yellow, just to make it that tanny kind of color. And then we want the black again for the nose. There we go. Just put that definition back in there. Add a little bit of shadow. And there we go. All right, so what other colors do we want to use? Let's use a bit of a brown color. Let's see this one. Yeah. Let's do so I'll do a wall. Here. The windows are darkened, so it's dark inside of it. So and as you can see, they are working quite well straight out of the box. I haven't sharpened this one at all. Of course, if you're going to maintain a sharp point to your pencil or a tip to your pencil, remember to turn it every once in a while. Don't just color with one side. I turn my pencils constantly to make sure that I always have a point on my pencil. So in order to maintain those points, just remember to turn your pencil. Today is just full of tips. Well, I guess it's Tuesday. It's supposed to be, right? So like I said, they do work very, very nicely straight out of the box. I was able to color that entire thing without any issues. I did not find a single green that was scratchy, just so you know. Every single green I used was a nice, vibrant green, and there was no scratch to them. Not even a little bit. I was thrilled. Most greens, if you're new to my channel, I do find that most green and red or deep brown colors, like this color that I'm using here, I do find that in most sets, even the higher artist grade sets, the colors are scratchy. And what that means is that they're a little bit drier than other colors in the set. And it's because they're higher pigmentation to them in order to obtain the color that they are. They've got more pigment in them than binder. It's not a horrible thing, but it does, if you have intolerance to sensory things such as dry, feeling scratchy on paper, which it took me a long time for it not to bug me as much. It still bugs me, but it doesn't bug me as much as it used to. It used to bug me so bad I couldn't use a dry pencil. But as I've continued to develop with my coloring, I have found that there are some pencils that work very, very well, even if they are a dry feeling. It's just because there's more pigment in there than binder, which could be a good thing for vibrancy and that sort of thing. Sometimes when you add too much binder, you lose your vibrancy on your color. So it's a good thing to maintain that vibrancy and that color. However, in order to obtain that color, sometimes they have to add way more pigment than binder, which makes things feel dry. It's not even a bad thing, you know, it's just one of those things that you have to get used to. And some sets are able to maintain that without adding more binder or more pigment and having an equal level of binder and pigment. And those are the sets where you're going to find that your pencils, even though they're a darker color or higher pigmented color, they are nice and smooth. And there are some sets that are able to nail that, and this is definitely one of them. Alright, so that's our dark brown. Now I'm just going to go over it again with the light brown. I think it was this one that I had. Oh, this one. Just looking for the one that I've colored with so that I don't color it the wrong color. And I'm just going to go over top of this again now that I've put in the shadows. I'm just going to go over top and fill in that white spot as much as I can without unbalancing the shadows. It does blend the shadows in, which is great. Alright. Sometimes when you go over your darker colors with your lighter color, depending upon the color, you could end up taking over that color with the lighter color and losing that dark shadow color. If you do that, just go back over it with your shadow color and reestablish that balance. It's not a big deal. It's not ruining your picture. You just have to readjust your balance of your picture. All right, so there is our one wooden door, or one wooden wall with our red door. I'm just going to take our blender pencil, very lightly blending those two colors together and brightening, covering up that white spot. Now, if you use a blender pencil and you use it fairly lightly, like I am, you can go over this with another color if you so choose. If you do a heavy hand on your blender pencil or on your blending color, because sometimes I blend with the color of the pencil, with the lightest color, you can end up burnishing the paper, and then you won't be able to get any more color on that area. So if you feel that you might need another color on there, use a blending pencil, a colorless blender, and just go over it lightly. If you're going to use a blender pen, you can use a blender pen, just let it dry completely before you go over it. Blender pen will not kill the tooth of your paper, so it's great for colored pencils because you can still go over that even after you've filled in the white spot. If you've still got areas that you feel that the white spot needs a little bit more pencil, you can go over it. The blender pen will pick up your pencil color, so make sure that you wipe that off when you are done with it. Same with the blender pencil. It will pick up some of your color, so just make sure that you wipe it off before you go into the next color. Otherwise, you may end up with the previous color in the next color, and nobody wants that. Unless you're doing a gradient, and then you might, but. And try to blend from light to dark, unless you want that darkness to extend out a little bit further than it already is. And then you can extend it with your blender pencil. All right, and there we have it. So I'm going to switch you over to the other camera here. I think I have taken up a bit of the time. Let's do one more wall. I want to do one more wall. Let's do this part here, and we're going to do that in purple, just because I want to do a purple wall, if that makes sense. Well, even if it doesn't. I got a little bit of brown there, so I'm just going to erase that using my handy dandy eraser. So I want a light purple. No, where did it go? So I want number 700. There's number 700. And I want a medium purple, so I want 701. And a dark purple, so I want 703. There we go. So we're going to do a purple area here. So we're going to start with our light. And this is our highlight purple. So this is where the light is going to be hitting. Now we will be going over this with other colors. This is just our base color. And what will happen after you get your other colors in is your base color will be your highlight color. And I know it's, excuse me, a very light color, so it's not showing up as well yet. It will, I promise. All right, now we're going to take number 0701. Which is our medium color. And we're going out from the dark areas. So the areas that you think you're going to have shadows, you'll put your medium color, but you'll bring it out into the rest of the area and stop where you think your highlight is going to be. Of course, every artist gives you a diagram basically in their drawings of where their dark and light areas are going to be. Like, for example, this area here around the window is going to be darker than this area here on the other side of the wall. So this area isn't going to get as much of that medium or dark purple as the other side. This area here is going to be darker. Same with this area here. This area down here. All right. Now you can see a little bit more of the purple. And then we go in here with our dark purple. And we're just putting that dark purple in where all those little lines are, making that area a little bit darker. Making it stand out a little bit more. Now I'm going to blend this with the lighter color. So the lightest color that I used is what I'm going to blend this with so that I can enhance that lighter color. So I'm just going to take the lighter color and I'm just going to put another layer over everything, blending all those colors together and darkening up my base color, like so. And there we have it. There we have a purple wall. Now, as per our color wheel and the color theory that I was showing you earlier, we're going to put a complementary color on the windowsill. So let's grab our color wheel. We've got this one here. So our complementary colors is either yellow, green, or yellow. So we're going to take our yellow, you know, the split complementary are yellow and yellow, green. The complementary is green, yellow. But we're going to work with yellow just because I want it to stick out a little bit. So we're going to take a light yellow and a dark yellow because this is a really small space. We don't want to try to add 3 different colors there. So just the 2 colors is more than enough. Alright, and then we take our dark yellow and we put it in the darker areas. making that light yellow stand out. Like that. Now you can take the light yellow and just go over it. And just make sure that you've got all your white spot covered. Blend that darker yellow in. And you have a split complementary color on your purple. Alright, I'm going to switch you over to the other camera here so you can see a little bit better of what we've done. And I'll even bring you down a little bit. There we go. So there is our wonderful little our little car house. It's our hot rod house because this is a hot rod. So yeah, it's a hot rod house. That's awesome. So I will finish up the hot rod house on my own. This is done with the Colleen colored pencils. Zoom you back out. Watch out. And there we go. And of course the swatch for the Colleens. As you can see, it is a very well-rounded set of pencils. They are very smooth. They work very well on cardstock as well as coloring book paper. This book is the Fantasy Tiny Homes by R.J. Hampson. Just going to take a look and see if it was published. Yeah, so it was published on Amazon paper. So this is Create Space paper, but I do believe that they have opted for a little bit better paper. It also has a black backing, so it might make it a little bit thicker because of that. But the Colleen pencils work very, very nicely on this paper, which is awesome. So we'll move that. We'll take a quick look, review of the testing that we did. The water test they passed. They did not move whatsoever, even a little bit. Actually, water puddled on top of it and beat it up. So definitely water resistant. The red smudges a little bit. The blue and the yellow are smudge proof. They erase better with an eraser pencil than with an electric eraser. They do gradient blend very nicely with each other. They also do a rainbow blend very nicely with each other, creating an orange and a green. The blender pencil that I used here that worked the best is the Derwent blender pencil. The blender pen that I used that worked really well as well is the Finesse colored pencil blender pen. It's formulated to blend wax-based color pencils. I'm not sure if these are wax-based or oil-based. They feel wax-based to me. But yeah, the blender pen worked really well on them. The Caran d'Ache blender bright stick did not eliminate the white spot. However, it did burnish the page and brighten the color. So that is all of the testing that we are going to do with the Colleen colored pencils. My first impressions with them are they're wonderful. They're so nice. They're really smooth. They're very soft. They blend together very nicely to create different colors, both with your white creating a pink, your yellow creating an orange or a green. They just move really nicely together. And like I said, this blender pen works so nice on them. I'm just blending everything. The Finesse blender is another one of those Christmas presents that my husband gave me. So we have gone through and looked at 3 different Christmas presents. We have talked about the color wheel and the way that way I use the color wheel. I use it to make sure that I've got a good combination when I'm moving colors next to each other, and I can't figure out what color will go with it. For example, if I was to say, oh, let's take some random color here. Let's say I wanted to use this color here, this one here, number 712, which is a gray purple, or a very pastel kind of purple. So let's take a look and see what's close to that one. I think this one here. No, maybe not. Let's see. Okay, so this one here would be the closest to that. So let's put our pointer at it. So the best one to go with, I'm just trying to make sure. Yeah, that one. The best one to go with that would be a green yellow. You can also use a yellow green, a blue green, or a yellow orange. Everything in this area here would work very well with that color, if that makes sense. So these two or these two would work the best with that color. Now if I was going with, say, this color, the orange red, the green yellow, the orange yellow, orange, and the yellow orange would work best with that color. So basically wherever these little pointers point to will work the best with those colors. So if it's directly across, that's the complementary, the full complementary. If it's next to the complementary on either side, that's a split complementary. And of course we've got our triangle or our triad there, which are also complementary colors to the color that we chose. So what the triad means is they're contrasting colors, so they will make the color brighter. But this color wheel, it gives you so much information. It is definitely one of the ones that I would suggest. It is the Adamus, and there is another one that is actually out of Oregon, which also gives you the same information. These are both available on Amazon, and I will make sure that I put a link to this in the description below the video. All right, guys. Of course, everything I have used will be in the description below the video. If you want to check any of them out, unfortunately, or fortunately for me, they are all the links that you will find below are affiliate links. And with an affiliate link at no cost to you, Amazon does give me a small commission if you purchase anything after clicking one of my links. What that does is that provides funds to different things available on the channel, whether it be good giveaways or different reviews of things that I don't already have. And we all know, how little that is, but um, yeah, but it does help me out with doing giveaways and that sort of thing. So please use the affiliate links. Like I said, it does help support the channel. Of course, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. That is also one of the absolutely best way to support the channel, is to make sure that you hit that like button. It does tell me what content you enjoy seeing, what content you don't enjoy seeing, so I can adjust my content scheduling for you. Um, of course, if you're not already a subscriber to the channel and enjoy the channel, please hit that subscribe button. I do put out a video almost every single day, and of course, I do try to do 2 lives a week on Wednesdays and Saturdays. If you want to financially support the channel, you can definitely do so by hitting that join button, which is below the video. What that will do is that will take you to an area for membership, which is a paid membership. And of course, all funds that are paid through the membership programs does go to the channel. So it does also help provide with giveaways, shipping, and that sort of thing that, financially is a little taxing sometimes. All right, guys, other than that, of course, finally, my final first impressions of the Colleen pencils are they're fantastic. I love them. Love, 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 love them. And I know Mandy's sitting there going, I told you so, because she did. She told me they were fantastic and they were wonderful and I really needed to get them. And I put them on my list and I thought about it and I went back and forth on whether I needed more pencils. And I do. I need more pencils. I love these. They're awesome. All right, guys. Other than that, thank you all very much for watching. I hope that you have a fantastic day. And always, always remember to relax, color, and stay safe. Until tomorrow, which of course is Work in Progress Wednesday, and we will be doing another set of pencils. Tomorrow, I think we are going to do the Marcos, the tribute set. So, until then, have a fantastic day and a wonderful, wonderful evening. Until tomorrow, bye-bye for now.